Okay, so here we are in chapter 5. I'm just doing a simple share screen. And I'm starting chapter 5. And what we're doing in chapter 5 is doing sort of these mini videos for Ruby Diner. Um, and I kind of like the idea of having video clips that people can watch online or watch while they're online in a restaurant or watch remote and digital. They're meant to be little snips that kind of keep you entertained while you're waiting online in the restaurant. And I'm hoping that it's something that you can access online, meaning virtually, or I guess just see it within the restaurant itself. So, in order to do this, we're going to first just do a save as to bring in um, the document, the After Effects document, right already into the chapter 5 folder. And so I'm going to go and hit save as. The reason why, of course, we have to hit save as instead of save is I haven't done anything to the document yet. So there's nothing to really save. So I'm going to go to save as, and I'm going to just simply go to um, 5, and I'm going to name the project, and I think it was named composition or composite in the book. I tend to name my project the chapter that we're working in because it keeps it simple. If anything gets moved around or anything happens, then that's um, what I call it. And so if you all call it chapter 5, you're good. Chapter 5 project. Now, this is special for me because I tend to save drafts. I'll save, project setup or a different name because I know I'm going to do several save ases. If you're doing this, if you call it chapter 5, excuse me, project, you're good. If you're working with other people, you might end this with the date so that people are clear as to when you last worked on it or what date you worked on it. Because sometimes you do save as is that way, or you can do a save as. You can do a project name that that identifies what you've done or introduction or project setup for me. So again, for all of you, if you just do project 5, um, if you do project 5, um, chapter 5 project, you're good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And with that in mind, I'm just going to bring in the media. Okay. Um, so I'm just going to click on the top, and I'm going to do a couple of things here because I'm going to click on the last, but I don't want to bring in proxy and I don't want to bring in the AEP file that I just created. So I'm just going to uncheck those with my keyboard command. And then I'm just going to click and drag everything else to the project folder, to the project. There we go, which is right here, which is really nice. Now, we worked with proxies in chapter 4, and so we're going to work with proxies now because we actually have a large file here. I believe we have a 4K, so you can see this dimensions is 4096 by 2160, which is fairly large. So again, that proxying, the whole purpose of a proxy is to have this file, but a smaller version of it, so that as you're working on it in After Effects, you don't have to work with such a heavy file. You'll work with a proxy of that file, a smaller version of that file, so it doesn't snag and get caught and lag while you're trying to work. So I'll show you how to do that again in 1 second. But I did want to show you, I do sort of like the order that these are in the sense that they have blend, blend. So you know that this is a grouping. GS is another grouping. Mask is another grouping. And that's a nice thing to do, especially again, if you're working with a group and someone passes this off to you, it's easier to understand. Okay. So that's an important thing, again, to always be clear on how you're organizing stuff in a way so that people can understand it quickly, that you're working with and easily. So you could be sharing it with another colleague, or a client. And it also serves well when you have to go back and forth to work so that you can remember what they are easily. So it's very important to be efficient, and especially, I can talk to you about it now, and particularly in chapter 5, because you really want to keep that in mind, because as we say, sometimes time is money, and you don't want to end up spending more time on something than you need to spend. Okay? So the other thing that we're going to do now is we're going to group this all in a media folder. And so I'm just going to select all of this, and I'm just going to go down to where our folder is and drop it right there. That's how I put it in the folder. And then I'm just going to title it media. Okay. So I will say that the way I usually work is I don't just have a file that says media. I'll have a file that says video clips, a file that says audio, or sound, and a file that says images, because if you're working with a lot of material, to just say media, it feels like a junk folder to me. But in this case, because the author, is this is the way the author is working, it's always nice to try something new and see how you like it. And so I'm doing it along the lines of the book and calling it media, but I do want to let you know that usually I have about 3 folders. One is called video clips, the other one would be called audio or sound files, probably audio, and then the third one would be called images, so that I could keep things separate. It helps me stay organized. Okay, so now we have to do the proxy. So again, we're doing the proxy to the large video file, which is a 4K. And so I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go set file. Okay. And once I get to that, I go right to my proxy folder, right? And I select that proxy. And the thing to see is the size. See how the size is a lot smaller? It's taking up less space. It went from being like, I think, 10 megabytes or something to 4. Let's see, this is 4, and let's see if I can see the megabytes up here. I don't, but I think it was like 4. I'm looking at the original one here, but you can see the size difference. The 496 by 2160 that is now reduced to 480 by 252. So that's pretty significant. And so once I select that and hit open, you see how I have my nice little proxy button. So always remember, we went over this in chapter 4, that you can have it on, the button on, which it is now, or you can click and have it off. If you have it off, it means you're using that 4K file. If you have it on, and you have it inside of your timeline and your layers, you will be working with the proxy. If you have it off, then you'll be working with the full file. Okay? So let's get this going.